This Wednesday evening, as we get close to the start of August, which is hard to believe that we have zoomed right through this year so far, but it's been a crazy year, especially the last 5 or 6 months, and so maybe if you're like me, you'll be happy to see this one come to an end as we get looking forward to another one. But thanks for being with us tonight on this Wednesday evening. Usually we would be having our regular Bible study, but our Constitution requires that we have business meetings occasionally, at least 4 a year. Usually in years past we'd had more of those just because of all of the renovations and things that were taking place here at the church. We needed church approval to do certain things, but at least we're required to have 4 a year to keep the church up to date in terms of what's taking place at the church. It's very important for accountability, to make sure that we're accountable to the church in terms of what's taking place. And also, if the church has any questions about the direction and the things that are taking place, gives you an opportunity to ask those. Now, unfortunately, the auditorium is empty tonight, so we do not have anyone here to ask questions. But if you have any regarding the church, the direction of the church, decisions, what we're planning on, all of those, you make sure you see me, any of our deacons, Brother Mark, and we will be more than happy to share some answers with you on that. I actually have a little more than our second quarter results because we have the results through July. So we essentially have 30 weeks of actual results we'll talk about tonight, which puts us close to 58% of the way through this year. So the numbers I'll be sharing with you are really through the end of July. But I wanted to share a couple of things with you before we get started. I received yesterday an email from one of our members, George Hare, and he copied a number of people in our church on it, but George wrote in his email, he says, "I've never heard of a church downsizing. However, in this day and age, I guess anything is possible." And he references a church that is downsizing, and they have a number of things they're trying to sell, different furniture items, all of those things, all sorts of supplies, kitchen items, you name it, Bibles, hymn books, religious books, on and on and on and on and on. Because they are downsizing. That is right now not uncommon at all. Unfortunately, many churches are doing the same thing. I read last night a national congregation study was showing that about 1/3 of all congregations in the United States, they do not have any savings at all. And so they're going week to week. And only about 25% have the ability to live stream their services. So there is a problem that churches are facing due to the pandemic. When you have churches closed in many states, California, Oregon, Washington, Michigan, New York, New Jersey, and most of those churches, mid-sized churches that have no savings to fall back on, people that were there as full-time staff. As you read, most of those churches have cut all of the staff that they had in the church to begin with, reduced everything they can, and survival is going to be very, very difficult. And it's just one of the many horrible things that are coming as a result of this pandemic. But I wanted to share that with you as we get started because our news is totally different than that. And I want you to rejoice in that tonight. I don't want you to feel proud or puffed up about it, but I want you to think about what's the reason for it. God never does anything haphazardly. He never does anything without a plan and a purpose in mind. And so as we look at the results for our church, which is a medium to small size church based upon the numbers, I want you to think about, what do you think God has for us? as we look at this. I want to start and show you a couple of verses of Scripture here. It's in 1 Corinthians, the 4th chapter, the 2nd verse. It says, "Moreover, it is required in stewards." A steward is someone who is given the possessions of the goods of someone else. God has now blessed someone else with possessions, material possessions, finances, whatever it is. And now they turn that over to someone and entrust the care of those things. That person is called a steward. So it's required in stewards that a man be found faithful. Now I've got there, when sacred resources or possessions that God has poured out upon others are transferred to the care of another person, that person must be found faithful in how they guard them and how they multiply them. It's a very awesome responsibility to be entrusted with something that's not yours, that is now given to you to manage or to safeguard or even to multiply. And the question is, are you found faithful in that? This Sunday I'm going to go back and preach on a Sunday school message that I gave a little over a month ago about the parable of the talents. And I hope that if you're listening, you will be here if you can. If not, you'll be watching via the live stream. But it's going to have a lot to say about what we do with what God has blessed us. That's the whole purpose. And in regards to what's taking place here at the church, being found faithful is critically important in what we're doing. Jesus said in Luke, the 16th chapter, the 10th verse, he said, "He that is faithful in that which is least is faithful also in much, and he that is unjust in the least is also unjust in much." There's a correlation here. And if someone cannot be responsible over the least that they are given to do, what makes them or anyone else think they're going to be responsible over more? It's just not going to happen. That's a biblical principle. So when people first find themselves faithful in the little bit that God gives them, it's amazing how he can begin to give more responsibility, more opportunity, a greater opportunity to maybe spread your net a little farther than you'd spread it before. But you first have to be found faithful in the smaller things which the Lord has given you to do. I think that the history of this church fulfills that very well. That the leadership here has been tried to be very diligent and faithful in smaller areas, and as a result of that, the Lord gives more responsibility for you to look over. Here's something I believe in this next slide. I believe a pastor must have foresight and a vision for the future, and always position the ministry to be able to withstand any unforeseen turbulence. And down at the bottom I've got, just because you have it doesn't justify anyone's desire to spend it. It's easy when things are going well. But that is the true test of the discipline, your financial discipline, to be faithful in what God has entrusted you with. I guess I've had people over the past 10 years, or at least the last 5 years, as the financial results have been staggeringly positive, say, well, why don't we do this or why don't we do that? And they always finish it with, we've got the money. Well, there's a reason that we've got the money, because we've been diligent and faithful in how we've been managing it. I always get leery of those people who want to do things and their reason for it is because we have the money to do it. Because very quickly, if that's your mindset on how you're managing as a steward someone else's resources, it won't be too long before you don't have it. And so here at the church, we've tried to be extremely diligent, extremely conservative in how we've approached things. I think the congregation has appreciated that. And as a result of that, they have confidence that when they give money to the Lord and it goes through this church as his vehicle, that it's going to be used very wisely, very efficiently, and used for his honor and for his glory. But you never know what's going to come down the road. Joseph, when he was in Egypt, they were having a surplus, if you remember the story. And Joseph's wisdom to Pharaoh was, we better be careful with this because a famine could be coming. Why don't we begin to store some of this away? And if in fact it does come, then we'll be better positioned to take care of our own people and also those that need to come and buy from us. And so that's one of the things that Joseph, through the wisdom of God, did, and Pharaoh followed his instructions. You know the story, a famine did come. You want to go to the next slide. I had no idea, neither did you guys, as we entered into 2020, what we were going to be dealing with right now. Thank God that we were not in the midst of some sort of a loan through a bank to do renovations or building or whatever it may be, an expansion of what's taking place here. But we have been faithfully kind of plodding forward. But all of a sudden, out of nowhere, this hits, and it's still with us. And so we've watched businesses close, travel restrictions. I should ask our congregation on Sunday, how many of our members have been in an airplane since March? I think it's probably a very low number. So we've had travel restrictions. We have a lot of states now that are a handful of them that are saying if you travel from a specific state to their state, you got to quarantine yourself for 14 days. I can guarantee you I'm not traveling to those states. I'm just not going to do it. So you've had that soaring unemployment. We were in a position that this nation had not seen in the history of keeping our statistics in terms of overall unemployment, unemployment for minorities, unemployment for women. It was at the lowest it's ever been since we've been keeping those statistics. Stock market, the Dow Jones is over 29,000. We were running full steam ahead, and then this hit. And within 90 days or less, unemployment is now was in double digits. Businesses, what are they going to do? And most of the business in the United States is what we consider small business. Well, we still have a lot of that going on. And I think, and you've heard me say this till you're sick of hearing it, I think it's really politically driven and motivated, is what I think, to try to damage where we live to the point to where President Trump cannot get reelected. Then they'll be happy. Then they'll stop burning Portland and Seattle and other places like that. My opinion is let Portland and Seattle fix it themselves. Don't ask for my tax dollars to go out there and fix that nonsense that they're allowing to take place. But I got one amen from our booth in the back. That's all I need, man. Throw a little wood on this fire and you'll get me fired up tonight. But it is amazing, and I think it's all politically motivated. And I think we're going to be a long time coming out of the damage. We had an attorney in our service week before last, and he told me afterwards he thinks that some 50% of restaurants will probably end up going out of business. In the midst of all of this great stuff going on, Remington Arms announced yesterday they filed for bankruptcy protection. It is amazing what's taken place. None of us saw this coming. I was shocked when they canceled March Madness. I thought, what are they doing? Now we're school closures, college closures, which make no sense. I went over those with Brother Mark in our Gather at the River and looked at the actual statistics. In fact, that's what you better start looking at, the facts, in terms of the number of school-age children from age 1 to 24 who've actually passed because of COVID. So the sports closures, and really, I could care less if they close down the professional sports leagues right now. They are so politically motivated, it makes me sick. And I'm tired of trying to turn on the TV to watch a game and having some subliminal message painted on a floor or on an end zone, which is going to be in the NFL. Really, to really almost condemn the nation we live in and promote some other political agenda. It's horrible. I'm not watching it. I'd encourage all of you not to watch it. And when those business owners find out they're losing money, maybe they'll come to their senses. I don't know. But we've had a nonstop, and I mean nonstop, spreading of fear. And it has a lot of good people even uneasy. People are afraid to go out. People are afraid to go to church. And none of us saw that coming. Thank goodness that we were not in a position to where all of a sudden we had all of this debt hanging over our head and had committed ourselves to something that we're saying, how do we get out of it right now? I think a pastor has to have that vision and the foresight because you never know what's going to take place. You say, how do you get that, Pastor? Well, I think the Lord gives that. It all comes, every good and perfect gifts come from Him. And I think when pastors and people in the ministry spend time on their face before the Lord, seeking His will and direction, He will give it. And we have wonderful deacons here at the church that follow the direction that we try to set for the ministry. And when all of that comes together, as it does here so wonderfully, we have the position that we find ourselves in right now. But none of us saw this coming, so hopefully we'll get through this, and I think we will. There will be light at the end of the tunnel, and I think it will take place after the election. I'm going to have a lot to say. I'm going to have more to say about election things this year than I've ever said in my life. As I've watched some of these poor pastors out in California now have to take a stand to try to keep their church open, all because due to political pressure. And I think as a church, we need to understand what the Bible has to say about political platforms. So I'm going to have a lot to say about that as we move closer to this election cycle, because I think it is a historic election for a lot of reasons. But as we moved into this year, we had planned a number of things that we wanted to get done, not on the grand scale that we had done for some 8.5 years, but some things that were going to be important to maintain our facilities, which is critically important. You know, when you finally get things fixed and repaired and looking good, you had better have a regular maintenance schedule to keep them looking that way, or you'll be spending a lot more money in the future to get them back up to where they should be. And one of the things was we wanted to have our front parking lot sealed and recoated and restriped. We had planned on doing that, but then the COVID thing hit. In my instructions to the deacons, I said, I just don't think it would look good at this point in time with people being laid off or furloughed and uncertainty about what's going to take place with jobs and all the other things for us to be spending money, even though we do have it. So we put that off, but we've recently finished that, and it looks fantastic. For those that have been here at church, when you just drive by the church or pull into the parking lot, it looks absolutely stunning. We did not do anything to the back of the property yet because we're not sure if, about what we may need to do back there, so we don't want to spend money doing things on asphalt and things like that that may get torn up in a couple of years. So those are still things in the planning stage. But we've already done the sealing and recoating and the restriping of the parking lot. We also had every surface in all 4 of our buildings, whether they be carpet or hard surface, cleaned and shampooed and refinished. And they look absolutely fantastic. We were trying to figure out if anyone knew the last time we had in our main auditorium had the carpets professionally cleaned everywhere. And I didn't, I could not remember a time, neither could the other guys, but it looks fantastic. It looks great here. Our floors have been refinished in the floor and the restrooms, all of the carpets in this building, all of the floors in the New Life Center, the Fort Faith, up and downstairs, the gymnasium. And so all of that has been done, and it looks fantastic. We probably need to plan on once a year having that done to keep them looking good. But it looks fantastic. We had on the side of Fort Faith, in between Fort Faith and the gym, area of concrete on a wall that was separating and coming apart. And so we repaired that. That has been fixed. As you all know, we had started with we call it our transportation ministry. We have an 8-passenger golf cart, which we purchased last year. And the very last Sunday that we met together in March was the first Sunday we had our golf cart out. And so it's been good as we've gotten back, and now we're back in church now for many weeks. But Buddy Pace has been the one who has been managing that for us, and he's doing a great job. He's got a number of other members driving for him, but it is fantastic. We also have now a Facebook homepage. A lot of people are on Facebook. Again, I'm not one of them. I've just got too much to do as it is right now than to have 100 friends or whatever it would be on Facebook. But I do know that a lot of people get their information from Facebook. So Vanessa Brown did a fantastic job on helping us put that together. Doris and Brent Harrison both had a hand in that. And so we now not only have, you can go to our website and through our YouTube, but you can be on Facebook. And we have a homepage there, and the people on Facebook could watch us right there. So I think it's good. We also started Gather at the River this year. And that was a result of being closed for 5 weeks, trying to find a way to continue to communicate to you, the church, things that were going on, to try to encourage you and uplift you and give some insight and information, answer some Bible questions. And so that came out as a result of being locked away. And now we've gone now to really once a month on that. We just had one a week ago or 2 weeks ago with Billy Ritchie. But we'll continue that as long as there's people that want to watch that. And we've also continued to have our weekly Bible study. Usually in the summer, when we break for the summer, we have been not having our Bible study until school kicks back in September. We have kept having a Bible study with you and for you, and we'll continue to do that. And then as we get into September, we will look at possibly getting back together on Wednesday evenings. So those are some of the things that have been going on. We've had to spend some money to do some of those things, as you could very well imagine. But here in this next graph shows you what the actual financial results have been through 30 weeks, and that would be through last Sunday. Our budget through that 30-week period of time is just over $286,000. Our actual tithes and offerings have been $348,626, or almost 22% more than our budget. I don't know how to tell you how miraculous that is in the midst of what is going on. It just is. You can see there, 30 weeks means we've completed almost 58% of the year, yet we've already achieved over 70% of our budget, which is phenomenal. Our weekly average for offerings so far has been $11,621. So far, things are going well, and we appreciate your faithfulness and your giving, and would encourage you to continue to do that. What's ironic is through all of that we're dealing with since March, we've stopped passing the offering plate to try to cut down on the amount of contact and personal contact and people passing plates. And so you have been putting your offerings in the offering plate at the back of the church or the side doors, or sending it in. And you are so conditioned to giving to the Lord, because many Sundays I forget to remind you. And in spite of all of that, it is amazing to see what continues to take place. But you continue to be faithful, if you will. We're getting a lot more than usual coming through PayPal, which is good. It's just amazing. Well, here's year-end projection. What does that mean? Well, it means we've had 30 weeks of actual results. We have another 22 weeks remaining, so if we take our 30-week average and assume that's going to continue, times the remaining 20 weeks, that's how we get this number. So our budget for the year is almost $496,000. At the rate we've been going on for the first 58% of this year, if we continue that, I would project we'd end the year at just over 604,000, which would mean that we had beat our budget by 108,334, or almost 22%. Again, that's pretty remarkable stuff. In fact, it's more than remarkable. And again, I don't want to feel puffed up or proud about any of that, because I know there are wonderful brothers in Christ who are pastoring churches who have had to let go everyone in their church, who are doing the custodial work and cutting the grass and everything they can do around the church now. They've taken a pay cut themselves, just trying to keep their doors open. And you need to pray for those people, those men. Well, our cash position, how do we look at our cash position? It's what you would call free flow cash. Cash that is not encumbered by any debt or hasn't been specified to be spent on a specific project. At times, people will give. It's happened in the past 10 plus years when we've had a project or something taking place, and people would give an offering specific to that. When they do that, that money is set aside and can only be spent for that project. So that's not what is part of our free flow cash position. So we're looking at cash that is not encumbered, that has to be applied to debt, that has to be applied to a specific project. And really there's three categories where that lies within our financial statements. The road settlement has been sitting there now, I guess, for 3+ years. That's the amount of money that we actually received after we paid the attorneys who helped us with this problem we had with the county and the road expansion. So we've had setting in our account $111,209, and we really want to use that for things around here at the church. We still have to get a church sign, but right now some of the initial feedback we received from the county is not what I would like to hear in terms of what they think we can have and where we can place that. So we've kind of held off for now. We'd also like to, we've considered having a little road around the gym tying into the back of our property. So those types of things, we've been holding on to that road settlement money to do all of those things with. But that's sitting there. Then we have money that we've placed in a money market account, and that is $405,288. So what you're seeing there is what this cash position actually was on January 3rd and what it is as of the 17th of this month, a little more than 6 months into the year. So our cash position's up. We made $583 on what started to be $404,000, but it, as my financial guy says, it beats a sharp stick in the eye, right? So, and then we have our checking account, and that is the unencumbered amount of cash we have in our checking account available to us, and that is up some $82,000. So our actual cash position has increased $82,592. So when you consider the fact that we have zero debt on our property, that has been paid off. We have zero debt on anything that we've purchased. We're debt-free, all right? And we have pretty good-looking facilities here. In fact, they look fantastic. And a lot of property. So the value of what we currently have right now is around $3.8 to $4 million property-wise. And then you add to that almost another $800,000 of cash. That is more than amazing. It really is miraculous. So we just praise God for all of that. So those are the numbers through not only the second quarter, but the first month of the third quarter. So what's going to happen between now and the end of the year? Well, we've been back meeting as a church. We're getting a lot of people that are back. In fact, our Sunday mornings look typical in terms of numbers of people. We've also had a lot of visitors coming into our church who have been part of a church who's now said they're going to be closed through the end of the year and they want to be in church. And so we're getting visitors, and it's just been fantastic. But we've had our adult Sunday school classes meeting here in the main auditorium, and we'll continue to do that through August. We'll see how September looks. We're just taking it month by month, but it has been fantastic as we've been meeting together, and I'm hearing just very, very positive things from you about how much you enjoy that, about how much you enjoy hearing some of the other teachers, and I'm enjoying it too. I really am. So we'll continue to do that through August. Our elementary age people had started meeting this month. That's our Thrive group, all of our elementary age children. They meet in Fort Faith next door at 5:30. We're planning homecoming for October 4th, the first Sunday in October. At this point in time, I have no idea what we're going to do regarding food like we normally do down in the gym. We're going to kind of play that by ear. I know that Eagles Landing is open up here where they normally provide all of our food, and they're open for carry out and those sorts of things. But we'll just have to judge and determine what the pleasure of the church is. But I think for the number of people that are here Sunday morning and Sunday night, which is, again, looks pretty typical of our Sunday membership, I don't think, they certainly don't have a problem coming to church and sitting together and singing, and most of them are shaking hands or hugging and all that. I don't think that same crowd would have a problem eating at a table with 8 or 10 or 9 other people and eating lunch. So we'll see. We'll test how that goes between now and then. But right now we're planning homecoming for October 4th, and that should be a fantastic day. So those are the results. The results are in, and they are absolutely fantastic. They really are. Thank you for your support of this church and the ministry. Thank you for entrusting what God has blessed you with to this church, with the confidence that we will use it, use those resources in the right way. Our missionaries have not missed a dime, which is fantastic. I got a nice note from Daniel Dundor, our missionary in Israel. My wife continues to think, and I'm not going to say she's wrong on this, she continues to tell me that she believes that once we found a missionary living in Israel, giving the gospel of Jesus Christ, that she believes at that point in time we begin to see more of a spike in our financial strength. And I think she may be right there. But all of our missionaries are doing a phenomenal job. They're under some stress, as you can imagine, but because of our financial strength, we've not only been able to give our regular payments, but as we have additional money, we send that out too. So we just praise God for all of this. But thank you for your faithfulness and giving to the Lord and this church. Well, I look forward to seeing you on Sunday, again Sunday morning, 10 o'clock. If you're an adult, all the adults will be meeting in the main auditorium. It's my turn to teach on Sunday, so I'll be teaching this coming Sunday. And our teenagers are meeting down in the gymnasium. Elementary classes are meeting where they normally do. Sunday morning service at 11 o'clock. Brother Mark is preaching on Sunday evening, so things are the same. And next Wednesday, we'll be having our regular Bible study, so we'll look forward to seeing you back with us. But if you have any questions at all, any comments, you can send an email to the church. Doris will make sure I get it. Or you could see me, Brother Mark, our deacons at church anytime. We will do our best to answer those for you and give you the information. So I hope there's been a blessing to you tonight. And again, continue to pray for our church. Continue to pray for our nation. Will you do that? And we'll see you Sunday morning. Thank you.